This is not a drill. Chapter 1119 ended with what seems to be the first words of the original Joyboy in the entire story. Of course, it could still be someone else, maybe a Lily talking here, maybe a Toki, I don't know. Any important figure who was around during the Void Century, although it seems pretty clear that it is Joyboy because the magnitude of these words being spoken seems very big. The time is at hand. It seems like the words of a leader who's commanding his men or something similar. And that also just makes me think what kind of voice the original Joyboy of the Void Century has, so who's going to be voicing him in the anime? But also, being that these words are being spoken to, the Iron Giant, it was walking around for a minute there and got knocked into the sea, but it has now well and truly arrived by being the first to inflict permanent damage to one of the 5 elders by breaking one of Saint Topman Warcury's tusks. We have seen Saturn take a Haki-imbued punch from Kuma, which broke one of his horns and his right arm, both of which he regenerated. He took a laser straight through from Frankie, which he also regenerated from. Took a Dawn Gatling from Luffy, squashed like a pancake, spun like a pizza, and thrown like a frisbee. Took a blast from his own explosive venom with no lasting damage. So take all of that, and just for simplicity's sake, the other elders took hits just as heavy and kept pushing as if nothing happened. Although, there are some slight differences I feel, where someone like Warcury has really tough skin, so none of the attacks can even get through in the first place. Until now, obviously, while the likes of Saturn and Jupiter are actively having to regenerate from being cut in half, Zjuro from Sanji's uppercut kick, although with Mars dive bombing through the dome and taking Luffy's new Dawn balloon attack in the latest chapter, it's a bit more unclear as to whether it's thanks to regeneration or durability. I don't know if that small detail is actually relevant in any way, or if it is just to differentiate a bit, but the fact that Warcury's durability was mentioned quite a few times, it does seem to be somewhat important. Or well, very important, and I say this obviously because of the Iron Giant, who we now know is named Emeth, punched the boar square in the face and broke one of the tusks. However, we do not know yet whether or not it will regenerate in the same way as the damage that the others did, or if this is actually the first breach of the Elder's durability that we have seen. But nevertheless, at the bare minimum, Warcury's durability has finally cracked, and that now leads to the question of how or why or what it was that gave the Iron Giant Emeth the capabilities of causing more damage in one hit than all the other attacks of everyone else put together, including those of Luffy, who is the Sun God, the premier deity of the One Piece world. The first idea is something that goes back to the importance of science and technology in the story, where Emeth was created with some extraordinary tech, maybe some kind of advanced form of sea stone, since we do know it originated in Wano and the ancient smiths of that country crafted the poneglyph, so maybe they were like wizards when it came to utilizing pyrobloin, which is one of sea stone's main components. So the Iron Giant armor may be made out of something like that, and pyrobloin is also the same material that forms the Sky Island, so if we stretch things a bit here, the idea of Sky Islands once being much more important in the past would work here, and so maybe the studying of those Sky Islands helped to create this super sea stone that Emeth is made out of. But moving away from there to the grander role of the Iron Giant, its name Emeth, a simple Google search brings up the Hebrew lexicon, and in that language the meaning of Emeth is that of truth, faithfulness, reliability, and in its original language it's made up of 3 letters that separately read from right to left: Aleph, Meme and Tav. Aleph is the first, Meme is the 13th, and Tav is the final of these block letters, so in a sense that could indicate the continuing of things, the lasting of something, seeing it the whole way through, like enduring until the end, which works since another definition of the word or name Emeth is that of stability and continuance. Therefore, you could take that to be very much a sign that the Iron Giant will make it out of Egghead Island with the rest of us and either travel to Elbaf or begin making its own preparations for the final war, and revisiting Joyboy's words of the time has come, or when the time comes. Emeth will definitely have a role to play moving forward, where if Joyboy is the one speaking here, that role is going to be something big. And revisiting the definitions of the name once more, we might as well just go through all of them that I have here. The definition of truth can be expanded upon as meaning the truth as spoken, which could be interpreted as Emeth carrying out Joyboy's will directly from the words that he spoke. like Joyboy said it, so I will do it. We've got truth of testimony and judgment, and truth of divine instruction, which build upon that as well. Like Joyboy's judgment will come down, and Joyboy's words are like prophetic words for Emeth to follow to a T. And then the truth as a body of ethical or religious knowledge. Emeth, the Iron Giant, knows the deeper meaning behind Joyboy's intentions, the truth of the prophecy, but away from Joyboy, the meaning also works since it is literally the vehicle through which Vegapunk's message, the truth of the world, is being broadcast from. So now I want to combine two different stories. One is that of Elijah, full name here, I'm not going to try and pronounce it, and the other of Judah Lo, full name here, I'm not going to try and pronounce it. So from Elijah's story, the name Emeth was a word that he wrote on the head of a clay structure that was molded to the form of a man, and this brought it to life. But as the golem continued to grow stronger, he removed the first letter, Aleph. The word with the remaining letters now reads as death. And from here there are a couple of variations, one where the golem scarred his face and turned to dust, and another where the golem collapsed on top of him, which crushed him to death. So the Iron Giant we barely know but still love is actually an iron golem. And in the other story, famously known as the Golem of Prague, the golem was created to defend and protect them from attacks and discrimination, and again, depending on the version, those in Prague were either expelled or killed. The golem's body was stored away to be restored to life again when needed, and all except the creator's successors were forbidden from seeing it. So applying this to One Piece, Joyboy created the Iron Golem Emeth, but for whatever reason it turned against Joyboy, which led to him being scarred, and this is why it was apologizing for its actions in the past. Why it went against Joyboy, I'd guess because of Emu or someone's abilities, so it was either being controlled or not in the right mind. And as for the scar, that would just be kind of cool, similarly to how Luffy has a scar. So the golem went out of control, so Joyboy was forced to put it down. Then the golem was stored away, it's hidden on Egghead Island, and only the successors could see it. Equivalently, only Joyboy's successors would be able to activate it, which works especially well with the idea of the Drums of Liberation being its power source. Luffy has restored life to Emeth because it is needed to assist in the upcoming war and liberation of the world. Another thing is that it is said that the golem from the Golem of Prague story could turn itself invisible and summon spirits from the dead, and I can see both of these things being possible in the future. The invisibility thing is simple, some ancient kingdom tech that gives it that ability. Realistically though, on a side note, whatever the ancient kingdom was capable of, no one's gonna bat an eye about it, especially after seeing what Vegapunk was capable of, and they're meant to be way ahead of that. But anyway, as for summoning spirits from the dead, it won't happen in a literal sense. No one will get resurrected and a ghost of the past will not materialize. I think that the Iron Giant, Emeth, will have another pre-recorded message in its system, not a snail but in its memory banks or something, a message from someone from the Void Century, maybe even Joyboy himself, that will give them information on what to do or what's to come. I am imagining this message as being one of those hastily recorded ones in the midst of a battle where whoever just says what has to be done, although the extent of what this new message reveals will be highly dependent on what part of the story we are in. The closer to the end that we are, the more the message would reveal. So this messenger won't be a summoned spirit, but they will be summoned in spirit, if that makes sense. And the very last thing, back to chapter 1119, it seems as though Emeth is confused by Joyboy's words, questioning what is meant by the time, which makes me think, because it is sentient, that when it is inactive it's akin to a deep sleep, like a coma, making it unaware of the passage of time. So I don't think it has fully come to its senses. It's awoken after 200 years, and now that attack on Marijois I think is the Iron Giant trying to redeem itself for what it did to Joyboy. But anyway, I think its memory is fuzzy, so I think that this whole time Emeth has been looking for Joyboy. It's been looking for the original Joyboy of the Ancient Kingdom, but when it actually does lay eyes on the current Joyboy Monkey D. Luffy, the cogs will begin spinning, everything will click, and the Iron Golem Emeth will realize Not in terms of what year it is, although they will definitely know now that the ancient war of the original Joyboy is long gone, but that now is the time for the final war that Joyboy told him about and told him to prepare for. You know what, maybe the Iron Golem Emeth and the 5 elders are actually related in some sort of way, because from the stories, the golem is essentially indestructible, obviously apart from removing part of the word from its head. So maybe that's why the elders are so invulnerable as well. They are also golems but created by Emu and are now sentient and their own individual beings in their own right. So that's why Warcury had no issue diving at the giant ship into the water pretty much, because it is not a devil fruit power, they were literally created with these abilities. So, what I'm saying is that Emeth, the Iron Golem, will be the final boost in holding off the 5 elders and getting everyone off of Egghead.